financial goal alignment to say that, okay, this is our plan. If you plan to build a house, and some couples do this, and it doesn't help at the end of the day, where you do things secretly.
Yes.
You are planning to build a house, your wife doesn't know, or your husband doesn't know. You intend to buy a car, and you don't inform the other person until you have finished the contract. Things like that. We are going into business, and the money that you have acquired together, you just go and, put it inside the business without telling the other person who has ownership of that. So, and then a part of the financial goals alignment is also to specify who owns what.
Yes.
As a divorce counselor, one of the things I've found is at the end of a marriage, there's always the argument of who owns what, who bought this or who bought that, whose name is on the land paper.
Yes.
Things like they can cause a lot of problems, these money issues. We should not deceive ourselves, we should not kid ourselves and say it doesn't matter. It matters a great deal because of, the kind of life that you can have when there's money or when there's no money. It's important for us to be able to. In Islam, it is clearly specified that it's just that we don't obey these things.
Yes.
Later we come back crying. Like when people have joint accounts, when people, build, okay, you gave your spouse money to buy a land and your name does not appear on the land papers.
Yes.
And many, many years later, you are crying foul and saying that, no, that's not how things. Allah specifically mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah verse 282 that for whatever contracts that we are entering into, even if it's between husband and wife, that there should be clear. It should be written, that it should be documented. It should be documented, there should be witnesses, and specify who owns what. In fact, there was a recent judgment by the Supreme Court, which I found very interesting, where they said that the term Mr. and Mrs. something does not count as a legal entity. You cannot sue and say that you want to claim a particular land because it's in the name of you and your wife or you and your husband. That whatever land or whatever property, whatever thing you are purchasing has to be in one person's name.
Yes.
There's only one person that can sue to obtain the right over that transaction. So many people are falling into this trap where you say that this building belongs to Mr. and Mrs. Bello. The court is saying it should be that Mr. Akim Bello and Mrs. Folashade, whatever is her surname, Bello. They are two separate entities. That a couple is not a recognizable legal entity. This is what the court is saying. And this aligns with what Allah is saying. Yes. If we even look back at the Prophet's life, the fact that he was the manager of his wife's business is something that a lot of people used to cite and say, let one spouse hand over whatever he has to the other spouse. The Prophet never took ownership of Khadija's property. What he did was to manage it for her and to get paid for his service. Not that he was now claiming that all those things that she has is now his own. So you see, this is where it is very important to specify and then to align our financial goals. Okay, we have the plan, 10 years time we want to build our own house. It should align with your own plans too. You should not have the idea that, okay, whenever we get such a substantial amount of money, this is what I'm going to do, while the other person is contributing without actually wanting that goal. So our financial goals must align with each other.
With each other, yeah.